January 15th, 1945. First U.S. Army Headquarters. Interrogation Room 7. The German officer sits perfectly still, hands folded, back straight, the posture of a man who has already surrendered everything except his dignity. Lieutenant Hans Müller, 28 years old, Panzer-Lehr Division, captured 2 days ago near Houffalize with what remained of his anti-tank battery. Across the metal table, Captain Robert Hayes flips through a folder. Standard procedure, unit composition, equipment, troop movements, the mechanical questions that extract mechanical answers. You were assigned to Schwere Panzerjäger Abteilung 519, attached to Panzer-Lehr for the offensive. 88mm Pak 43 guns, correct? Correct. How many tanks did you engage during the offensive? 47 confirmed hits. Hayes makes a note. Impressive number. The 88 was a surgeon's scalpel in the right hands, and Müller's hands had been steady. And yet, Hayes says, looking up, your division was pushed back. Why? Müller's jaw tightens. For the first time, something flickers behind those pale blue eyes. Captain, may I ask you a question first? Hayes leans back. This should be interesting. Go ahead. Tell me about your ghost tanks. Silence fills the room like water. Hayes's pen stops midword. Ghost tanks? The ones that die, Müller says quietly, and come back. Hayes closes the folder. This interrogation just became something else entirely. Lieutenant, I think you'd better start from the beginning. Müller nods. When he speaks, his voice is calm. Matter of fact. The tone of a man reporting data, not confessing defeat. I destroyed 47 American tanks during the offensive, Captain. Confirmed kills. My battery had the best record in the division. He pauses, looks Hayes in the eye. But by mid-January, I was fighting more American armor than when we started. That's when I understood. We weren't fighting your soldiers. We were fighting your factories. Hayes leans forward. Explain. December 20th, 1944, Müller begins. 7:40 in the morning. That's when I saw it for the first time. December 20th, 1944, Zoo 740 hours. Hillfheim 17, east of Neff, Belgium. The world is white and grey and cold. Snow falls in thick curtains across the Ardennes, muffling sound, erasing borders between earth and sky. Müller kneels behind the 88mm Pak 43 anti-tank gun, breath-forming clouds in the frozen air. His gloved fingers rest on the Zeiss optics, tracking movement on the road below. 3 days into the offensive, 3 days of punching through American lines like paper. The plan is working. Bastogne, that critical crossroads town, lies just 2 kilometers southwest, so close they can see smoke rising from its chimneys. Victory feels inevitable. Beside him, Feldwebel Kurt Bauer adjusts the gun's traverse. 32 years old, Stuttgart accent thick as motor oil. Bauer has been with Müller since Kursk. Before that, France. They've killed tanks together in 3 countries now. Movement, Bauer mutters. 11 o'clock. Müller swings the optics left there. Emerging from the tree line like grey ghosts, Sherman tanks, American, pulling back toward Bastogne in a ragged column. The retreat is obvious in their spacing, their speed, the way they're not even pretending to maintain formation. Müller counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total. Range? Bauer doesn't need instruments. He's been doing this too long. 800 meters, moving left to right, 15 kilometers per hour. The lead tank is clear in the lens now, M4A3. The newer model with the wet ammunition storage. Müller can see every detail, the spare track sections welded to the hull, the canvas cover over the machine gun, the turret number painted in white, A23. And there, on the right side of the hull, a long scratch in the olive drab paint. It catches the weak morning light, looks almost like a lightning bolt. Müller files it away. You never know what details matter until later. Gunner ready, Bauer says. His voice has that flat calm he gets right before the shot, like reading a grocery list. The 88 is already loaded. Panzergranate 39, armor-piercing, the round that made this gun famous from North Africa to Leningrad. Fire when ready. Bauer's hand moves, the gun speaks, the world compresses into a single moment of violence. Muzzle flash, recoil, the shell crosses 800 meters in less than a second, hit. The round punches through the turret ring of A23 like a nail through tin, not a glancing blow. Not a ricochet, A surgical penetration's exactly where armor is thinnest. Smoke pours from the wound. The tank shudders, keeps rolling for 10 meters on momentum alone, then stops. Dead. The crew hatches pop open. Figures scramble out. 1, 2, 3. The commander doesn't appear, neither does the gunner. Muller watches them run. He doesn't feel triumph, doesn't feel guilt. Just the hollow confirmation of mathematics. Harborget, 1 round, 1 kill. Bauer is already traversing to the second tank in the column, but Muller keeps the optics on A23, memorizing it, the way it sits, listing slightly to the left, the smoke still rising, that lightning bolt scratch still visible on the hull. He reaches for his combat log. Leather-bound notebook every gun commander carries, opens to today's page, writes in neat, precise script, 751 hours, Sherman A23, destroyed, grid reference 463728. He underlines destroyed once, the column is scattering now. The remaining Shermans have seen the flash, heard the crack of the 88, they're reversing, turning, desperate to get out of the kill zone. Bauer destroys the second tank at 753. The third tries to smoke screen at Aero 755, but the shell finds it anyway. By Aero 800 hours, 3 American tanks are burning on the slope below Neff. By 08155, Muller's battery is packing up. US artillery will range this position soon. You never stay in one place after you reveal yourself. They pull back 3 kilometers, dig in again, wait for the next target. Muller doesn't think about A23 again that day. Why would he? It's dead. December 23rd, 1944, 1420 hours. Hill 509, south of previous position. 3 days later, everything has changed. The offensive is stalling. Bastogne hasn't fallen. The 101st Airborne dropped into the town like wasps into a jar, and now the whole German advance is backing up behind them. Panzer Lehr was supposed to bypass Bastogne, drive for the Meuse River. Instead, they're stuck in a meat grinder. Muller's battery has relocated twice. They're down to 4 guns from 6. Ammunition is tight, fuel is tighter, and the Americans are counterattacking. Panzers, Bauer says, coming from Bastogne sector. Muller swings the optics. There, Sherman column pushing east, 8 tanks. Moving with purpose now, not retreating. The siege is broken. Patton's Third Army punched through from the south yesterday. These tanks are hunting. Muller starts his assessment. Range, speed, angle of approach. Then he freezes. The lead tank, the turret number, A23. His breath stops. Can't be. He blinks hard. Looks again. The number is clear. White paint. A23. Muller shifts the optics down to the hull, searching for the lightning bolt scratch. There. Right side. Same position. Same shape. But there's something else now. Fresh welds. Ugly brown scars running along the turret ring. And the paint, it's different. Newer. The white number looks like it was applied recently. The edges are too sharp. Bauer is calling out the range. 750 meters. They haven't seen us yet. Muller's mind is racing. How is this possible? He destroyed this tank 72 hours ago. Watched the crew bail out. Watched pour from the turret. Logged it in his notebook as a confirmed kill. Herr Leutnant? Bauer's voice has an edge now. The tanks are getting closer. Muller forces himself to focus. Maybe he misread the number. Maybe it's a different tank with similar markings. The Americans reuse numbers, don't they? But that scratch, lightning bolt, same spot, same angle. Permission to fire? Muller's throat is dry. Granted, the 88 fires. The shell crosses the gap, finds the engine deck this time. A different wound for a different angle. A23 lurches. Smoke erupts from the rear. The tank slews sideways. Tracks locking. Hit. Kill. Again. The remaining Shermans scatter. Muller battery engages 3 more before the Americans pull back. Another successful defense. But Muller isn't watching the battle anymore. He's staring at A23, burning for the second time. Bauer is beside him now, cleaning the breach. Good shot, Herr Leutnant, right in the Kurt. Muller's voice is strange. Flat, ja? That tank, the one we just hit. What about it? We killed it 3 days ago. Bauer stops, looks at Muller. Then looks through the secondary optic at the burning Sherman. That's A23, Muller continues. Same number, same scratch on the hull. I logged it on the 20th. Bauer stares for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is careful, the tone you use with someone who might be cracking. Herr Leutnant, that's impossible. We destroyed that tank. I saw it. I know. So this must be a different tank. Same number, different vehicle. With the same scratch? In the same position. Bauer doesn't have an answer for that. They sit in silence. Around them, the battery is already preparing to displace. Standard procedure after contact. But Muller isn't moving. He opens his combat log. Flips to December 20th. There's the entry. Sherman A23. Destroyed. He turns to today's page. Writes 432 hours. Sherman A23 destroyed. Grid reference 458721. He stares at the two entries. 3 days apart. Same tank. Did I see it wrong? He whispers. The first time, Bauer puts a hand on his shoulder. You didn't see it wrong. I was there, we both saw it. Then how? I don't know, Hans. It's the first time Bauer has used his first name in combat. I don't know, that night Muller doesn't sleep. He keeps seeing that tank, burning twice. The same number. The same scratch. Ghosts don't exist. Tanks don't resurrect. There has to be an explanation, and Lieutenant Hans Muller is going to find it. December 24th, 25th, 1944. The pattern emerges. Christmas Eve in the Ardennes is supposed to be quiet, sacred even. The snow falls softly, and for a few hours both sides observe an unofficial truce. Muller spends it reviewing his combat logs. Tank B-17, destroyed December 21st, 0630 hours. Hit in the turret, Tank B-17. Engaged December 24th, 1510 hours, same number. Fresh repairs visible on the turret, tracks replaced. Tank C-33. Destroyed December 22nd, 1145 hours. Penetrating hit through the front glasses, Tank C-33. Engaged December 25th, 0820 hours, same number. Glasses patched. Welding marks clearly visible through the optics. He makes a list. 8 tanks total, all destroyed, all returned. The time gap is consistent, 2 to 4 days between death and resurrection. Muller shows the list to Hauptmann Erich Stolz, his battery commander. Stolz is 41, too old for this war, too tired for mysteries. Muller, you're seeing things. Feldwebel Bauer confirmed the sighting, sir. Then you're both suffering combat fatigue. Stolz rubs his eyes. The Americans have hundreds of Shermans. They use the same numbering system across different units. You're seeing coincidences with identical damage markers, identical hull scratches. Stolz's patience cracks. Lieutenant, we're losing this offensive. We're surrounded at Bastogne, running out of fuel, and you're worried about tank numbers. Focus on what matters. Muller salutes. Says nothing, but that night he makes a decision. If his commanders won't investigate, he will. December 26, 1944, 10:30 hours, POW interrogation. Pattern broke through to Bastogne yesterday. The corridor is narrow, fragile, but it's open. Supplies are flowing, so are prisoners, both ways. Muller volunteers to help process 3 captured Americans. Hauptmann Stolz doesn't ask why. Probably glad Muller is occupying himself with something productive. The prisoners are cold, scared, relieved to be alive. 2 infantry privates and a tank crewman. The tanker is the one Muller wants. Private First Class David Walsh, 10th Armoured Division, loader on an M4A3. Muller speaks English, learned it in university before the war. He conducts the interrogation himself, away from the official channels. Your tank, Muller begins. What happened to it? Walsh is 19. Shaking from cold or fear or both. Got hit. December 19th. We bailed out near Longvilly. And your tank? What happened to it after you bailed? Walsh looks confused by the question. I don't know. We ran. Didn't look back. Did you see it again? Yeah, actually. Walsh brightens a little. Got reassigned to it on the 22nd. 3 days later. Maintenance guys fixed it up. Good as new. Muller feels something cold settle in his stomach. Fixed it. In 3 days. Yeah, they're miracle workers, those guys. Lost my tank on the 19th. Got it back on the 22nd. Hell of a turnaround. Muller leans forward. Who fixed it? Where? The recovery vehicles. You know, the M32s. They tow the tanks back to depot. Fix them up, send them back to us. M32? Big Sherman with a crane instead of a turret. Can lift a whole engine out. Amazing to watch. Muller makes Walsh describe everything. The recovery process, the depot system, the spare parts inventory, the repair logs. Walsh talks freely. Why wouldn't he? It's not classified. It's just .logistics. But to Müller, every word is a revelation. The Americans don't just repair tanks, they systematize it, industrialize it, turn resurrection into routine. Walsh mentions something that makes Müller's blood run cold. They keep logs, serial numbers, repair times, parts used, like a factory production line. A factory. Müller thanks Walsh. Was him sent back to the prisoner holding area. Then he finds Bauer. They repair them, Müller says. The Americans, they have recovery vehicles, dedicated maintenance depots. They pull damaged tanks off the battlefield, fix them in days, send them back. Bauer frowns. We do that too. The Werkstatt Company, not like this. Müller cuts him off. Walsh said they keep logs, computer-like precision, serial numbers, repair schedules, parts inventory. They treat tanks like automobiles in a repair shop, so they have good mechanics. What does that? Kurt. Müller grabs his arm. They brought the factory to the battlefield. Bauer stares at him. Müller continues, words tumbling out now. We think of tanks as weapons. They think of them as products. When we destroy one, we think it's gone forever. When they damage one, they think it's temporarily out of service. That's insane. Is it? Müller pulls out his combat log. We've destroyed 47 tanks in 6 days. How many new American tanks have we seen? Bauer doesn't answer. More, Müller whispers. We've seen more, because they're not all new. Some of them are the same tanks, repaired, returned, resurrected. That night, Müller starts a new page in his notebook. At the top, in careful Gothic script, he writes, Das amerikanische Wiederauferstehungssystem, the American Resurrection System. Below it, he begins documenting everything, numbers, patterns, timelines. And at the bottom of the page, he writes a question that will haunt him for the rest of his life. If we can't kill their tanks faster than they can repair them, how do we win? The answer, of course, is already obvious. They don't. December 21st, 1944, 2,230 hours, 3rd Armoured Division Depot, Spruymont, Belgium. The night smells like diesel and snow. Technical Sergeant James Morrison kneels beside a Sherman tank, worklight casting harsh shadows across metal. His breath fogs in the cold. His hands, bare despite the temperature, are black with grease up to the wrists. He's 23 years old. Detroit, Michigan. Worked the Ford assembly line before Uncle Sam called. River Rouge plant. Built flathead V8s, 1,200 units a day, 6 days a week. The war didn't teach Morrison how to fix engines. Ford did. The war just gave him bigger engines to fix. Beside him, Corporal Michael Chen adjusts the portable generator. The lights flicker, steady, hold. Here comes another one, Chen says. Morrison looks up. An M32 recovery vehicle is backing into the depot, towing chains taut. Behind it, dragging through mud and snow, comes a Sherman, turret scorched black, hull streaked with blast marks. The number on the turret is barely visible under the carbon scoring, A23. Morrison stands, wipes his hands on a rag that's more grease than cloth. The M32's driver, a kid from Iowa whose name Morrison can never remember, dismounts, unhooks the tow chains. This one's pretty bad, Sarge. Morrison walks around the tank slowly, assessing. The way a doctor examines a patient. Turret ring penetrated. Entry hole the size of a dinner plate on the right side. Exit wound bigger. 88mm probably. The Germans and their damn 88s. Surgical weapons in the hands of men who know how to use them. Morrison climbs onto the hull, peers into the turret. He's done this 47 times since Normandy. It doesn't get easier. Blood everywhere. Not fresh. It's been a few hours, but still wet enough to smell. The commander's position is worst. The shell came through right there, turned the cramped space into an abattoir. Dog tags hang from what's left of the seat. Morrison collects them carefully. Doesn't read the names. That's not his job. He hands them to Chen. Get these to Graves' registration. Chen nods, walks away quickly. He's seen the inside of too many tanks too. Nobody talks about it. What would you say? Morrison forces himself to focus on the machine, not the men who died in it, the engine. He taps the deck plates, listens. Sounds intact. Continental R975, 9-cylinder radial, 400 horses. If it wasn't hit directly, it's probably salvageable. Transmission. He checks the final drives through the access ports. No obvious cracks. Good. Tracks. Right side chewed up, but that's cosmetic. They've got stacks of spare track sections. The turret ring, that's the problem. The shell punched through, deformed the race, jammed the traverse mechanism, but the turret itself is mostly intact. The gun's undamaged. Morrison pulls out his pocket notebook, government issue, same as the combat logs the infantry carries, but Morrison's is filled with numbers of a different kind. He writes, Tank A23. Received 2,245 hours, 21 deck, 1944. Damage assessment, turret ring penetration, 88mm AP. Commander, KIA, gunner KIA, engine intact, transmission OK. Right track damaged, classification, class 3 repair, 23 deck, 1800 hours, 48 hours. That's the standard for a class 3. Morrison's team can usually beat it. He tears off a tag from the notebook, wires it to the turret hatch. The tag will follow this tank through the repair process like a medical chart. Behind him, the depot is alive with work. 3 other damaged Shermans in various states of disassembly. The M32 recovery vehicles coming and going. Portable lights turning night into day. The constant sound of cutting torches, impact wrenches, diesel engines. This depot supports Combat Command B of the 3rd Armored Division. 52 tanks on the roster normally, but during the bulge they're taking overflow from everyone. 10th Armored, 9th Armored, whoever needs help. Right now 14 are here being repaired. Another 38 are somewhere out there in the darkness, fighting, or moving, or waiting to fight. Morrison's job is simple. Get the 14 back to 38 as fast as humanly possible. Alright, he calls out to his crew. 6 men, good men. Let's get A23 ready for surgery. December 22nd, 1944, 6:30 hours. The same depot. Morning light reveals what the work lights hid. The scope of organized chaos. The depot is a field of mud and metal. Camouflage netting stretched overhead to hide it from German reconnaissance aircraft. Wooden planking laid down to keep vehicles from sinking into the Belgian winter. Morrison's team has A23 positioned over the maintenance pit. The tank squats on wooden blocks, tracks removed, belly exposed like a patient on an operating table. The cleaning crew finished their work at 0400. Morrison doesn't envy them. They're the ones who have to crawl inside with buckets and brushes and strong disinfectant, scrubbing away what's left of the crew. You can get blood out of steel, but the smell lingers. Now comes Morrison's part. He's under the tank with Private First Class Robert Taylor, the new guy. 20 years old, fresh from ordnance school at Aberdeen. Taylor still thinks tank repair is glamorous. "Hand me the 3/4 wrench," Morrison says. Taylor fumbles through the tool bag, finds it, passes it up. Morrison works on the transmission mounting bolts. His hands move with the unconscious precision of 10,000 repetitions. This is his 8th Sherman transmission. They're all identical. That's the point. "How long you been doing this, Sarge?" Taylor asks. "Fixing tanks? Since July. Fixing engines? Since I was 16. You're good at it." Morrison grunts. Compliments make him uncomfortable. It's not complicated. Everything's modular. Like Lego blocks for adults. "Doesn't seem simple to me. That's because you're thinking about it wrong." Morrison loosens the last bolt. "Don't think of this as a weapon. Think of it as a truck, a big armored gun-carrying truck. When something breaks, you don't fix it, you swap it." He gestures to the warehouse behind them. Stack after stack of wooden crates, each one stenciled with part numbers and descriptions. Transmission broken? Replace the whole unit. Takes about 6 hours with a good crew. Fixing the old transmission? That takes 3 or 4 days, so we replace it, send the broken one to depot level maintenance, and they'll rebuild it for the next guy. Taylor absorbs this. "So we're not really repairing tanks, we're swapping parts." Exactly. Henry Ford figured this out 20 years ago. Assembly line production, interchangeable parts. We're just applying it to armor. Morrison slides out from under the tank, stands, brushes mud off his coveralls. Above them, Chen is working on the turret ring with a cutting torch. Sparks rain down like orange snow. "See what Chen's doing?" Morrison points. "That turret ring is damaged. We can't fix it in the field, so we're cutting out the damaged section and welding in a replacement." The replacement came from another Sherman that took a mine last week, blew the bottom out, but the turret was fine. So as we stripped it, turret ring becomes spare parts. That's the system. Waste not, want not, Taylor says. Exactly. By noon they have the new transmission installed. By 1600 the turret ring is patched and welded. By 1800 they're testing the turret traverse. It rotates smoothly, 360 degrees, no binding. Morrison stands back, watches A23 rotate its gun. The movement is hypnotic, deadly grace. Chen drops down from the turret, goggles pushed up on his forehead, face streaked with soot. Turret's good, gun sighted. She's ready for paint. Morrison checks his watch, 22 hours. Not bad. They spray paint the hull, olive drab, then the turret number, A23, white paint stenciled clean. Morrison signs off in his notebook. Tank A23 ready, for issue. 22 deck 1944, 1845 hours. The tank will go back to 10th Armoured Division tomorrow morning. Fresh crew, fresh ammunition. Back into the fight. Morrison never wonders what happens to the tanks after they leave. That's not his job. His job ends when the engine starts. December 28th, 1944, 14:20 hours. The depot. Morrison is eating a cold sandwich when the M32 brings A23 back. He stops mid-bite, stares. Chen sees it too. No way. The same tank, same number, but different damage this time. Engine deck blown open, transmission case cracked, fuel tanks ruptured. The crew got out, no blood inside, but the machine is gutted. Morrison walks around it slowly, his sandwich forgotten. He pulls out his maintenance log, flips back to December 22nd. There's his entry. Tank A23 ready for issue. 6 days ago, he flips forward to today, writes, Tank A23 received for repair, engine and transmission destroyed, 28 deck 1944. Sarge, Chen is beside him now. This is the same tank we fixed last week, right? Yeah, that's unfortunate. Morrison looks at him, unfortunate for the tank. Getting hit twice in 6 days. For the tank, Morrison repeats. Something's bothering him, he can't quite name it. He goes to the depot office, a converted Belgian farmhouse, half-collapsed roof covered with tarps. Inside, Sergeant First Class William Martinez runs the administrative side. Paperwork, requisitions, tracking. Martinez, can I see the master log? Martinez looks up from his typewriter. Which one? All tanks received for repair. Last 30 days. Martinez pulls out a thick ledger, green canvas cover. Every tank that passed through this depot is logged here. Received date. Repair classification. Completion date. Return to unit date. Morrison flips through. His finger traces down the columns. Tank A23 appears 3 times. December 21st. Turret damage. Return December 23rd. December 28th. Engine damage, currently in repair, and before that, Morrison flips back further. December 14th, track and suspension damage, returned December 16th, 3 times, in 2 weeks. Morrison looks up at Martinez. This happen a lot? Same tanks coming back multiple times? Martinez shrugs. Sure, stands to reason. They're all in the same sector, getting shot at by the same guns. Some tanks are unlucky. Or, Morrison says slowly, the Germans are tracking them. Martinez blinks. What? Think about it. They're keeping logs too. Smart ones anyway. They see a tank, engage it, knock it out. Mark it as destroyed. Then 3 days later, same tank, same number, shows up again. What would you think? I'd think we were very good at fixing tanks. Or that we're bringing them back from the dead. Martinez laughs. We're mechanics, Morrison, not Jesus Christ. But Morrison doesn't laugh. He's thinking about the German crews. The ones shooting at these tanks. What must it feel like? To destroy something and watch it return. Morrison's fought in this war for 7 months. Normandy to here. He's never fired a shot in anger. Never killed anyone. His weapon is a torque wrench, not a rifle. But now, standing in this office with the maintenance log open in front of him, he realizes something. He's been waging psychological warfare without knowing it. Every tank he repairs and sends back is a message to the Germans. You can't win. We have too many. And the ones you kill won't stay dead. Sarge! Martinez's voice breaks his thought. You okay? Morrison closes the ledger. Yeah, just. Thinking. He walks back to A23. His crew is already working on it, cutting away the damaged engine deck, preparing to drop in a new power pack. Chen sees Morrison's expression. What's wrong? Nothing. Just. Do we have any spare turret numbers? Different ones? Sure. Why? Maybe we should change A23's number, call it something else. Why would we do that? Morrison doesn't have a good answer, because he feels sorry for German tank hunters who are losing their minds watching the same numbers reappear. That sounds insane. Never mind, he says. Keep the original number. Regiment wants consistent identification. Chen shrugs, goes back to work. Morrison stands there, looking at A23, and for the first time since Normandy, he wonders what the enemy sees when they look through their gun sights. December 29th, 1944, 1730 hours, Panzerlehr Division Field Headquarters. Müller spreads papers across a wooden table in what used to be a Belgian farmhouse cellar, maps, combat logs, intelligence summaries. He's been compiling data for 9 days, 20 tanks tracked systematically, every reappearance documented, every timeline calculated. The numbers tell a story his commanders refuse to hear. He writes his findings in careful script, analysis, American tank recovery and repair system sample size, 20 individual tanks identified by turret numbers and unique damage markers. Destruction to reappearance timeline, minimum, 36 hours maximum, 96 hours average. 3. 2 days reappearance rate, 75%, 15 of 20 tanks observed returning to combat. Conclusion: Americans possess centralized repair capability with standardized procedures. Damaged tanks are not losses, they are temporary casualties. He underlines that last sentence twice. The cellar door opens. Obergefreiter Werner Vogel descends the stairs, 41 years old, Panzerlehr's senior mechanic. Hands permanently stained with grease, the man who keeps the division's remaining armor running. Herr Leutnant, you wanted to see me? Yes, sit. Vogel sits. Uncomfortable in the presence of an officer. But Müller has coffee. Real coffee, not the acorn substitute. Vogel accepts the cup gratefully. Werner, I need your professional assessment. How long does it take to repair a Panther with turret damage? Vogel considers. Depends on the damage. Turret ring hit? If we have the parts, 3 days. If we have to fabricate parts, a week. If we have to send it back to Germany. He shrugs. Months, if ever. And how many spare turret rings do we have? None. Spare engines? 1 Maybach HL230 for 38 Panthers. Transmissions? None. Last spare was used in November. Müller makes notes. So when a Panther is seriously damaged, we cannibalize. Vogel's voice is matter of fact. Strip parts from tanks too damaged to save. Use them to fix tanks that might survive. We're down to 16 operational Panthers from 38. The other 22 are parts donors. And the Americans? Vogel laughs bitterly. The Americans have factories. We have prayers. Müller shows him the data on American repair timelines. Vogel studies it, frowning. This is accurate? I've observed it personally. Same tanks, returning in days. Vogel sets down the paper. Then we've already lost. Explain. Herr Leutnant, war is mathematics. We can destroy their tanks faster than they can build them, we win. They can replace their tanks faster than we can destroy them, we lose. But if they can also repair their tanks at this speed, he trails off, does the math in his head. It's not sustainable, for us I mean. Why? Because every Panther we lose is gone forever. Every Sherman they lose comes back in 3 days. The imbalance compounds. We get weaker, they get stronger, eventually. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Müller pours more coffee. They drink in silence. Finally, Vogel speaks. May I ask a question, Herr Leutnant? Of course. Why do you care? About their repair system. We're ordered to destroy tanks. Whether they come back later isn't our concern. Müller considers his answer. Because I'm tired of fighting ghosts. I want to fight the system that creates them. And how do you fight a repair depot? You target it. Bomb it. Artillery. Cut their supply lines. Vogel shakes his head. With what? Luftwaffe is gone. We barely have fuel for the tanks we have, let alone for offensive operations against rear areas. He stands. With respect, Herr Leutnant, look at these numbers. We can't compete with that kind of industrial capacity. He salutes, climbs the stairs, leaves Müller alone with his papers. Müller stares at his data. 20 tanks, 75% return rate. He picks up a pencil, does the calculation that Vogel started. Panzerlehr destroyed 320 American tanks during the Ardennes offensive so far. if 75% are repaired and return. That's 240 tanks that aren't really losses, so the actual attrition is only 80 tanks. Meanwhile, Panzer has lost 67 tanks. Received 8 replacements, net American position, minus 80 tanks, plus replacements from production, net German position, minus 59 tanks, no recovery possible. The math is brutal. Müller sets down the pencil. For the first time since Kursk, since France, since the war began, he understands that individual skill doesn't matter, tactical brilliance doesn't matter, German engineering superiority doesn't matter. The Americans aren't trying to outfight Germany, they're trying to outproduce it, and they're winning. January 3rd, 1945, 08 hours, 3rd Armoured Division Depot. Morrison is training Taylor on power pack replacement when Chen calls out, "Hey Sarge, how many tanks we got in this division?" Morrison doesn't look up from the engine he's installing. Nominal strength? About 200 Shermans, all variants. Why? Because I'm looking at the master log and we've repaired 47 tanks just in December. Sounds about right. And we returned 46 of them to service. Lost 1 to parts donor. Good ratio. Taylor, who's still learning, looks up from the log. So, we repaired almost 30% of the division's tanks in 1 month. Yep, and this is just our depot. Combat Command A has their own depot. Combat Command Reserve has one too. Morrison finally looks up. What's your point, Taylor? My point is, Jesus, how many tanks are the Germans destroying? Chen answers before Morrison can. A lot. But we're bringing most of them back. Taylor processes this. So when the Germans think they've knocked out 50 tanks, we've actually only lost 5 or 6 permanently, Morrison finishes. The rest come here, or to depots like this one. Get fixed, go back. Do the Germans know? Morrison wipes his hands. Yeah, they know. I figure any competent intelligence officer has to know by now. The question is, does it matter? What do you mean? I mean, Morrison struggles to articulate it. Knowing we can repair tanks fast doesn't help them repair their tanks fast. It's just information. Doesn't change their logistics. Doesn't give them spare parts they don't have. Chen joins the conversation. It's got to be demoralizing though, shooting the same tank 3 times. Maybe, Morrison says. But what are they going to do? Stop shooting? The 3 of them stand there in the cold morning, surrounded by tanks in various states of disassembly, the constant background noise of the depot, engines, generators, welding torches, impact wrenches, fills the silence. Finally, Taylor speaks. How many depots like this do we have? In Europe? Morrison shrugs. Every armoured division has one. 16 armoured divisions, so 16 division-level depots, plus corps-level depots. Army-level depots. Port facilities. Ordnance companies attached to infantry divisions for their attached tank battalions. Ballpark number, Morrison thinks. 50? 75? I honestly don't know. And each one is doing what we're doing. Yeah. Taylor's eyes widen. We're not fighting a tank war, we're fighting a logistics war. Morrison nods slowly. Kid, you just figured out what wins wars. It's not bravery, it's not tactics, it's beans and bullets and spare parts, boring stuff, the stuff nobody makes movies about. And tanks, Chen adds. Lots and lots of tanks. And the ability to fix them when they break, Morrison finishes. He turns back to the Sherman he's working on, which is what we should be doing. This power pack isn't going to install itself, but as he works, Morrison can't stop thinking about what Taylor said. Logistics war. His father worked the Ford assembly line too. 30 years at River Rouge. Built cars before the war, jeeps and tanks during it. His father had a saying, "Wars are won in the factory, not the battlefield." Morrison never understood it until now. Every tank he repairs is a brick in a wall the Germans can't climb over. Every spare part in the warehouse is ammunition in a war of attrition. Every efficient procedure, every standardized component, every minute saved in repair time, it all compounds. The Germans are fighting 1940s warfare with 1940s logistics. America is fighting 1940s warfare with 1930s mass production techniques. It's not a fair fight. And Morrison, with his grease-stained hands and his maintenance logs and his 48-hour turnaround times, is as much a soldier as any man in a tank, maybe more. because the men in the tanks can die. But the system Morrison represents, that doesn't die. It just keeps building, keeps fixing, keeps producing, until the other side runs out of tanks. Or fuel, or hope. January 7th, 1945, 2 to 3 and 40 hours, Panzer-Lehr Division Headquarters. Müller receives the intelligence summary at midnight. It's marked secret, compiled by Army Group B intelligence staff. Distribution limited to battalion commanders and above. Müller isn't supposed to see it, but Hauptmann Stolz is drunk, celebrating nothing, drowning something, and left his papers unattended. Müller reads by candlelight. Assessment of Allied armoured strength. Western frontiers of the 5th of January 1945. Estimated operational Allied tanks 2,847. Estimated Allied tanks in repair. Transit 634 total Allied armour. 3,481 vehicles German operational armour. Western front 287 tanks. 533 assault guns. 87 tank destroyers. Total 907 armoured vehicles. The ratio is nearly 4 to 1. But that's not what makes Müller's hands shake. It's the next section. Allied production and replacement capacity. Estimated monthly tank production. USA. From 500 Fleischmann, 800 units estimated monthly tank production. UK. 200 to 240 units total monthly Allied production. Approximately 1,900 tanks estimated Allied repair rest recovery rate. 85–90% of damaged vehicles returned to service within 7 days. German monthly tank production. 315 units, December 1944. German repair rest recovery rate. Insufficient data. Estimated 40 to 50% of damaged vehicles recovered. Average repair time 3 to 6 weeks. Müller does the math. America alone produces more tanks in 3 weeks than Germany produces in 2 months. And America repairs 90% of damaged tanks in a week, while Germany struggles to repair half that number in 6 weeks. The numbers aren't just unfavourable, they're apocalyptic. Müller keeps reading. There's a section on spare parts inventory. Allied forces have standardized components across most vehicles. German forces use 37 different tank models, each with unique parts. Allied fuel supply, sufficient for operations through summer 1945. German fuel supply, critical shortage. Offensive operations impossible. Allied ammunition stocks, abundant. German ammunition, rationed. The report continues for 16 pages. Every page is another nail in the coffin. At the end, the intelligence officer who wrote it included a personal note: recommend immediate armistice negotiations. Continuation of hostilities under current material imbalance is militarily futile. Germany lacks the industrial capacity to sustain armoured warfare against opponents possessing both numerical superiority and logistical depth. This assessment is based solely on material factors and does not account for troop morale, tactical proficiency, or operational strategy, all areas where German forces maintain qualitative advantages. However, material factors will ultimately prove decisive. Respectfully submitted, Major Klaus Brenner, Intelligence Staff, Army Group B, someone probably a general, has written in the margin, defeatist nonsense. This officer is relieved of duty. Müller closes the report. He sits in the dark. Outside, the war continues. Artillery rumbles in the distance. The endless, grinding, pointless war. Müller thinks about A3. That one tank, destroyed 3 times, returned 3 times. He thinks about Morrison, whoever Morrison is, somewhere behind American lines, fixing tanks with the calm efficiency of a factory worker. He thinks about the depots, the spare parts, the M32 recovery vehicles, the whole vast machine of American logistics, and he understands Germany isn't fighting America. Germany is fighting the arsenal of democracy. And you can't kill an arsenal with an 88mm gun. Müller picks up his combat log one last time, turns to a blank page, writes a final entry, 7 January 1945. Personal assessment. We are not losing because we lack courage. We are not losing because we lack skill. We are not losing because our equipment is inferior. The Americans understood something we didn't. Modern war is won in factories, not battlefields. Every tank we destroy returns. Every tank we lose is gone forever. The mathematics are simple. The outcome is inevitable. God help us all. He closes the notebook. Tomorrow, Panzer-Lehr will retreat again, and somewhere, 50 kilometers away, Morrison will repair another tank. and send it back to kill more of Müller's men. The wheel keeps turning until one side has no more men to lose, or no more machines to fix. January 13th, 1945, 06:30 hours. Outside Sprimont, Belgium. Dawn comes late in winter. The sky bleeds grey through heavy clouds, turning snow into a colourless wasteland. Müller's column moves west. Retreat, though nobody calls it that. Tactical withdrawal, consolidation of lines. The words don't matter, the direction does. 3 Panther tanks, 2 Panzer IVs. His battery's 88mm Pak 43 on its half-track tow, all that remains of a battery that started the offensive with 6 guns. All that remains of a division that crossed the German border in December with dreams of reaching Antwerp. They're 40 kilometers from where they started. Moving backward. Fuel gauge reads 1/4. Ammunition down to 15 rounds per gun. The column halts at a crossroads. Hauptmann Stolz confers with map and compass. The road ahead splits. North leads to Liège and the German lines beyond. West leads deeper into Allied territory. Movement ahead, someone calls out. Müller grabs his binoculars. Through the swirling snow he sees structures, buildings, camouflage netting, and vehicles, American vehicles, a depot. His pulse quickens. American logistics base, Stolz says, studying it through his own optics, probably abandoned. Artillery was hitting this sector yesterday. We should avoid it, Bauer suggests. Too risky. But Müller is already thinking. How many times has he wondered about these places, the factories behind the battlefield where dead tanks return to life? Request permission to investigate, Herr Hauptmann. Stolz lowers his binoculars, looks at Müller like he's insane. Why? Intelligence value, supply status, equipment we could use. It's a lie. Müller doesn't care about supplies. He needs to see it, the machine he's been fighting, the system that turned mathematics against them. Stolz considers they're already behind schedule, already lost. What's 15 minutes? Take 4 men. 5 minutes. Then we move. Müller chooses Bauer and 3 others. They approach on foot, weapons ready. The depot is silent, no generators running, no work lights. The Americans pulled out but recently. Fresh snow hasn't covered the tire tracks yet. Müller enters what was clearly the main work area and stops. It's all real. Everything Walsh described, everything the intelligence reports mentioned. Everything Müller imagined during 9 days of obsessive documentation. M32 recovery vehicles parked in neat rows, 10 of them, cranes folded, patient, waiting, a warehouse with open doors. Inside, wooden crates stenciled with part numbers, power pack M4 series, engine Continental R975, transmission final drive assembly, spare parts stacked like cordwood, enough to rebuild 15 tanks, 20 more. A workshop area under camouflage netting. 3 Sherman tanks in various states of disassembly. One has its turret lifted by a crane, suspended like a patient organ waiting for transplant. Another sits with engine compartment open, power pack halfway removed, and in the corner, covered with a tarp against the snow, one more Sherman. Müller walks to it, pulls back the tarp. A23. He would know it anywhere now. The number, the lightning bolt scratch, the weld marks from December 23rd, a new damage, engine deck blown open, transmission case cracked. This is the 3rd time he's killed this tank, and they were fixing it again. Müller's hand touches the cold metal, his gloved fingers trace the weld seam. He can see where German steel met American armor, where his 88mm shell penetrated, where some American welder, Morrison or another, doesn't matter, sealed the wound with torch and rod. Mein Gott, Bauer whispered beside him. It's all true. Müller walks through the depot like a man in a cathedral, silent, reverent. This is the temple of the god that's killing his country. He finds the administrative building. A converted farmhouse. Inside, desks, typewriters, filing cabinets, and logs, maintenance logs, thick ledgers with dates and tank numbers and repair classifications. Müller opens one at random. Tank B-17, received 21 deck. Turret damage, returned to service 23 deck. Tank C-33, received 22 deck. Hull penetration, returned to service 24 deck. Tank A-23, received 21 deck. Turret ring damage, returned 23 deck. Received again 28 deck, engine damage. In progress, page after page, tank after tank, an industrial ledger of resurrection. Müller runs his finger down the columns. In December alone, this depot, just this one depot, repaired 47 tanks. 47. His battery destroyed 47 tanks during the entire offensive, and this single depot repaired that many in a month. He calculates, if there are 50 depots like this across the Allied front, that's 2,350 tanks repaired per month, plus new production, plus. The numbers are too large. They break comprehension. Herr Leutnant, Bauer calls from outside. We should go, but Müller can't move. He stands amid papers and parts and the machinery of American logistics, and he understands what he's been fighting. Not soldiers, not tanks, a system. Herr Leutnant, Bauer's voice is urgent now. Müller turns, walks outside, and freezes. There's a man standing in the depot yard, American uniform. Sergeant stripes, grease-stained coveralls, hands black with oil. 2 Germans raise their rifles. Nicht schießen, Müller shouts. Don't shoot. The American's hands are up, not in surrender, just. Not non-threatening. He's young, mid-20s, calm eyes, the kind of calm that comes from competence, not fear. Another American appears from behind one of the M32s. Asian features, corporal stripes. Also calm, also not afraid. You speak English? The sergeant asks. Müller nods, steps forward. Bauer moves with him, rifle ready but not aimed. You fix the tanks? Müller asks. The American, Morrison, though Müller doesn't know his name yet, nods slowly. Yeah, that's my job. Müller points at A23. This tank. I destroyed it 3 times. Morrison's eyes flick to the Sherman. Back to Müller. Something like surprise crosses his face. You're the guy with the 88? Yes. Silence. Snow falls. 2 men on opposite sides of a war stand in a depot that shouldn't exist, having a conversation that shouldn't be possible. How do you do this? Müller asks. Not aggressive. Genuinely curious. How do you bring them back so fast? Morrison considers, like he's deciding whether to answer. Finally, M32 recovery vehicles, spare parts inventory, module replacement instead of component repair. Assembly line methodology applied to field maintenance. The answer is technical, professional, one mechanic to another. We're just fixing trucks, Morrison continues. His voice is quiet. Well, bigger trucks. You don't understand, Müller says, what this does to us, seeing the same tank return. Morrison is quiet for a moment. No, I guess we don't. We're just doing the job. Didn't think about your perspective. The other American, Chen, speaks up. You could just not shoot them. Bauer laughs, bitter sound. Yes, excellent strategy. We surrender, you win. Simple. I didn't mean. Chen starts. We know what you meant, Müller interrupts. Then, to Morrison, how many depots like this do you have? I don't know exactly. Every armoured division has one, plus higher echelon facilities. 50? More? Müller closes his eyes, does the math one more time. 50 depots, 47 tanks per month each, 2,350 tanks repaired monthly. Plus 1,100 to 1,800 new tanks produced monthly. Germany produces 315 tanks per month total. The ratio is 14 to 1. How many tanks can America build in a month? Müller asks, though he already knows. I heard somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000. Depends on the month. And Germany builds 300. Morrison doesn't respond. What is there to say? Müller looks around the depot one more time. The M32s, the spare parts, the half-repaired tanks, the logs, the whole vast, efficient mechanical system of industrial warfare. You know what you've taught me today? Müller asks. What? That we lost this war before it started, not because you're better soldiers, because you're better at this. He gestures to the depot. Better at building, better at fixing, better at the things that happen behind the battle. Morrison shifts uncomfortably. I don't know what to say to that. You don't need to say anything. Your work speaks for itself. Artillery sounds in the distance. Getting closer, American artillery, probably ranging this area again. Bauer touches Müller's shoulder. We need to go. Müller nods. But he turns to Morrison one more time. Take care of that tank, A23. I won't be shooting it again. You surrendering? Morrison asks. No, just. Acknowledging reality. Müller and his men leave. Walk back to their vehicles. The column starts moving again, north toward German lines. Behind them, Morrison stands in the depot yard, watching them go. Chen appears beside him. Should we have, I don't know, taken them prisoner? Morrison shakes his head. With what? We're mechanics, not infantry. Besides. He trails off. Besides what? I don't know. Seemed wrong. He just wanted to understand. Do you think they'll make it? To their lines? Morrison doesn't answer. They go back to work. A23 still needs its engine replaced. War doesn't stop for philosophy. But as Morrison works, he thinks about the German officer, the look in his eyes, the quiet desperation of a man doing mathematics he doesn't like. Morrison wonders if he made it, if he survived the war, if he went home to Munich, Berlin, wherever home was. Morrison will never know, just like Müller will never know that Morrison kept A23 running until May 8th, 1945, kept fixing it, kept sending it back. 11 times total, 11 times destroyed, 11 times resurrected. January 15th, 1945, 1900 hours. First U.S. Army headquarters. Captain Hayes closes his notebook. Müller sits across from him, the story told. The confession complete. So you lost hope, Hayes says, because of a repair depot. Not hope, Captain. Illusion. The illusion that individual courage could overcome systemic advantage. Hayes studies the German officer. Müller doesn't look defeated, doesn't look broken, just clear-eyed, the clarity of a man who's done the math. That's pretty philosophical for a tank hunter, Hayes says. War teaches philosophy, whether we want it or not. Hayes stands, walks to the window. Outside the war continues. Trucks moving, soldiers marching, the enormous machine of the Allied war effort grinding forward. For what it's worth, Lieutenant, you're right. We won because we outproduced you, not outfought you. I know. Your soldiers were good, better trained than ours in many ways. Better equipment in some cases, better tactics. But you had more. Müller's voice is flat. More of everything. Yes. Silence fills the room. May I ask a question, Captain? Sure. Tank A23, the one from my story. Is it still in service? Hayes walks to his desk, pulls out a report, flips through pages of tank rosters, runs his finger down columns. Yeah, 10th Armored Division, currently assigned to Combat Command B, saw action. Let's see. January 5th, 8th, 12th, damaged twice since your last encounter. Repaired both times, back in service. Müller laughs. No humor in it, just recognition. Of course it is. Hayes closes the report. You'll be transferred to a POW camp in France. From there, probably England until the war ends. You'll be treated according to Geneva Convention. It's over for you, Lieutenant. The war, I mean. It's over for all of us, Müller says quietly. Some of us just don't know it yet. Hayes doesn't disagree. March 15th, 1945, 3rd Armored Division Depot, Remagen, Germany. The depot has moved, crossed the Rhine, set up in a German warehouse. Morrison works on a Sherman, different tank, same procedure. Engine replacement, 48th one he's done since Normandy. It's routine now, automatic. His hands know the movements without thought. Taylor, no longer new, works beside him. They don't talk much. No need. The war is ending. Everyone can feel it. German resistance is collapsing. POW camps are overflowing. The advance is measured in kilometers per day now, not meters. Morrison doesn't think about the German officer anymore. The encounter in Spremont was 3 months ago. Might as well be a different war. But sometimes, when he's working late, when the depot is quiet, he remembers the look in the German's eyes. The look of a man watching his world's assumptions collapse. Morrison understands that look now. He's seen it in mirrors, in the faces of men who've been at war too long, the look of comprehension, of seeing the machine you're part of understanding your role in something vast and terrible and unstoppable. Morrison isn't naive. He knows what his work does. Every tank he fixes goes back to kill. Every efficiency he creates, every hour he saves, every procedure he streamlines, it all feeds the machine. He's as much a soldier as the men in the tanks, maybe more. Because the men in the tanks can die, but the system keeps running. May 8th, 1945, VE Day. The war in Europe ends at 2,301 hours. Morrison is still working. Old habits. There are 3 tanks in the depot needing attention, and war or no war, they need fixing. Word comes down at midnight, it's over. Germany surrendered. The depot erupts in celebration. Men cheering, flares fired into the night sky. Someone found schnapps in a German cellar. Morrison walks outside, looks at the tanks. A23 is there, came in yesterday. Track damage. already fixed, ready for a war that just ended. Morrison walks to it, touches the hull. The metal is cold, silent. He thinks about the German officer who killed this tank 3 times. Wonders if he's still alive, wonders if he knows it's over. Probably. Pals hear news fast. Morrison imagines him in some camp, British maybe, American, doing the same math he was doing in January. Watching the numbers add up to Germany's defeat. Did he feel relief when the end came, or just confirmation? Morrison doesn't know. Will never know. But standing there in the German night, with celebration echoing around him and a tank that refused to die, Morrison understands something. Wars aren't won by heroes, they're won by men like him. Men who show up to work, men who do their jobs, men who keep the machines running, boring men, competent men, men whose names never appear in history books. Men with grease under their fingernails and diesel in their lungs, men who understand that glory is a lie, but logistics is truth. Morrison turns away from A23, walks back to the celebration. Tomorrow, this tank will be shipped to a depot in France, processed, inventoried, maybe sold to another country, maybe scrapped for steel. Its war is over, but somewhere, someone will keep logs of it. Track its fate, document its end, because that's what you do with machines. You track them, you maintain them, you record them, even after they stop being weapons, even after they stop mattering. Because the system demands it, and the system never stops. Epilogue, May 1946. Munich, Germany. Hans Müller walks out of the British Pabu camp at dawn, free man. The war has been over for a year. Repatriation takes time. He carries nothing but the clothes on his back and his combat log. The British let him keep it. Historical document, personal property. Munich is ruins. His city, his home, rubble and ghosts. He finds his family's apartment building. It's still standing, miracle. His wife opens the door, screams, cries. He holds her. His daughter is 5 now, doesn't remember him. He left when she was 2. That night, after his wife sleeps, Müller sits at the kitchen table, opens his combat log, reads the entries he made in December and January, the documentation of A23, the pattern analysis, the mathematical conclusion. He turns to the last page, the one he wrote on January 7th. We are losing because war is no longer decided by warriors. It is decided by workers. He was right, but being right didn't change anything. Müller closes the notebook, puts it in a drawer. He'll never open it again. Tomorrow he'll look for work. Germany needs to rebuild. His engineering degree from before the war might help. If anyone's hiring former Wehrmacht officers. If he can stomach building instead of destroying. He doesn't think about the war. He doesn't think about A23. He doesn't think about Morrison. But sometimes when he's falling asleep, he sees tanks. American tanks with the same numbers, coming back again and again. An endless column of resurrection, and he understands, will always understand, that individual courage never stood a chance against industrial capacity. Author's note: historical record tank A23, M4A3 Sherman, serial number 3056821, served with the 10th Armored Division from December 1944 through May 1945. Combat records indicate the vehicle was damaged and repaired 11 times during this period. Turret damage, twice. Engine damage, 4 times. Track and suspension damage, 5 times. Average repair time, 52 hours. Total combat days, 147 total days in repair, 31 service availability, 79% the tank survived the war. It was shipped to France for inventory in June 1945. Later transferred to the French Army under the Mutual Defense Assistance Program, served in Indochina until 1953, final disposition, scrapped for steel, 1954. No record exists of the German gun crew that engaged it multiple times in December 1944. No record exists of the American maintenance crew that kept it running. They were never meant to meet. But for 15 minutes on a cold January morning in Belgium, they did, and both men understood, perhaps for the first time, what they were really fighting, not each other, but the mathematics of industrial war, where production beats courage, where logistics beats valor, where the ability to fix what breaks matters more than the ability to break what's fixed. The Germans learned this lesson too late. The Americans understood it from the beginning. That's why the war ended the way it did, not with a bang, but with a ledger, and a balance sheet that couldn't be ignored.